Welcome to an episode of Potion Sword Run. In this episode, we're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about Trump being elected and what I hope for the future through his presidency. Now, I don't care who you voted for, and you shouldn't care who I voted for. At the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we want the best for our families and our country. One of the things I'm looking forward for through the Trump administration, hopefully, is him tackling big pharma, big industry like big ag, big chemical, and the way that affects us as Americans, particularly through our foods. Hearing Robert F. Kennedy talk about his mission to make America healthy again and how President Trump is willing to appoint him to fulfill that mission gives me hope for the future, at least in this particular area. I learned that there is 9 chemicals, mostly dyes, in our food that is developed from petroleum sludge. After they make all the gas and the stuff, their sludge, and with that, they don't want to just throw it away, so they find something to use for it. And what they ended up doing was making dyes for our food. And when you look at our food, most of them contain these kind of dyes. And it turns out, as more studies is made on these dyes, it correlates to diseases in our bodies, including cancer, but also ADHD, migraines, and the list goes on. Yet, the FDA finds these safe enough for people to eat, Americans to eat. And some of these chemicals have already been found to be unsafe in other countries and are banned. But yet, our institutions are captured by special interest, so the cycle of poisoning us continues. Now, if Robert F. Kennedy gets appointed to the health ministry or whatever it is that takes care of all of our health needs, regulating the FDA and all the stuff that they put in our food and such, President Trump has asked him to concentrate on 3 main things, and I'm going to let you hear it from his voice.
Donald Trump has said that he would put you in charge of the public health agencies. What exactly does that look like?
Well, he's been very specific in what he said. He wants me to do 3 things. 1, clean up the corruption of the agencies, particularly the conflicts of interest that have turned those agencies into captive agencies for the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, the other industries that they're supposed to be regulating. Number 2, to return those agencies to the gold standard science, the empirically based, evidence-based medicine that they were famous for when I was a kid. And number 3, to make America healthy again, to end the chronic disease epidemic. And President Trump has told me that he wants to see measurable, concrete results within 2 years in terms of a measurable diminishment in chronic disease among America's kids.
Now, when you hear him say that, how can you argue with that? I mean, how can you not look forward to our government finally stepping up to help the American people and their health needs? And not only that, but punishing these companies from poisoning our citizens. Through President Trump, Robert F. Kennedy wants to ban big pharma from showing us pharmaceutical commercials on TV and through our media apps. And guess what? As a return, Americans are hooked on drugs, legal pharmaceutical drugs. We're the unhealthiest country in the world.
One of the things I'm going to advise Donald Trump to do in order to correct the chronic disease epidemic is to ban pharmaceutical advertising on TV. There's only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical advertising on the airwaves. One of them is New Zealand and the other is us. And we have the highest disease rate and we buy more drugs and they're more expensive than anywhere in the world. Italy spends about 1/6 that we spend on healthcare, and Italians live 7 years longer. So whatever they're doing does not work. And don't you want a president who is going to fix this country?
And that correlates with the food that we eat and how we're being poisoned, and yet selling the magic cure when it comes to pharmaceutical pills and such. Companies out there, such as Big Pharma and Big Food and Big Ag and Big Chemical, want to keep us unhealthy so that we're a constant customer for all of their products. And he also wants to ban chemicals in our food. And again, how can you argue with that? Looking at one of his speeches, he's mentioned Red 40. And I've heard of all these chemicals before, but you kind of just put it on the back burner. You really don't think about it. You go to the store and you try to pick the healthiest things you can, and that's how life is. I understand we're all busy. We're living busy lives. But when he mentioned Red 40, I looked around to a couple of snacks that I had just to see what was in it. I love red vines. Why do I love red vines? Because they're fat-free, they're easy to eat, and so on. I bought these purple grape ones because I wanted to try them. They're not really that good. I love grape stuff, but these aren't hitting the spot. But besides that, I look in the back, and it has Red 40. And also Blue 2. Red 40 and Blue 2. Looking up Red 40 is made from, like I said, sludge petroleum. Same thing from Blue 2. And reading up on Red 40, it causes ADHD and cancer in research studies that have already been published. But yet the FDA still finds them safe because it only affects a small or a certain amount of people. But just knowing the fact that it causes cancer should alarm everybody. And why would even include it? I don't understand it. Because they also have alternatives to these dyes that are made from food. For example, if you want a red, you use strawberries and grapes or cranberries. But the thing is, they're not as potent and what's the word? Consistently as the ones that are made synthetically through this sludge. Because they can actually control the actual color because it's not real, It don't come from natural resources. Whereas, each cranberry out there is not the same color. There are certain hues of red and, it goes on. And the same goes for every other color naturally that can be made for these foods that we eat or dyes for our clothes and so on. You can make them from insects as well, but again, it's more costly and again, it's not as consistent as do it synthetically. But is it having consistent worth having cancer and all other diseases, ADHD, hives, allergies, and the list goes on? So if President Trump assigns, before I even go there, I went to go look at a bunch of different stuff in my pantry, whatever I'm feeding, anything, and I look at Temptations where I feed my cat snacks once in a while, and you look in the ingredients and it also has Red 40. So essentially I'm feeding poison to my cats. When you wonder why pets get cancer and all this stuff, it's the food we eat, it's the food we give them, it's the food they eat. It's the same food that's manufactured by the same companies that provide us our nutrition. So, if President Trump does assign Robert F. Kennedy and he's able to do these things, ban chemicals in our food, ban Big Pharma from advertising to our kids and families constantly, he's able to make America healthy again, then I think that's something to be hopeful for, even if President Trump is somebody you didn't vote for. Now this channel I think is going to take a little turn. Most of you who watch this are adults, and yes, I do talk about video games, and this channel is about video games. But if you look at my channel video, it's also about harsh realities and how video games intertwine with our lives, and politics is a big part of our lives. Now, I'm not gonna be political and tell you who to vote for and this and that, like mainstream media and all that stuff does. That's not what I'm into. But when it comes to stuff that affects us, like poisons in our food, stuff that helps maybe the working class, someone like me and you, then I am going to talk about it. and you can either, enjoy the ride and watch what you want to watch. But I'm always going to be truthful to you. I'm not going to be scared like all these other YouTubers who don't want to touch it because they know that it's not politically safe and they might lose subscribers and so on. This channel's not about that. This channel's about me and the stuff that I love and the stuff that I think about. And so from time to time, you're going to see stuff just like this. And in the end, either if it's a video like this or a video about just straight video games, I still thank you for your time. I still ask you to love yourself and to enjoy your life. I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you for watching. Peace.